Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to another Citrus Corner as part of OG55. I got my brother here. We're going to talk about a little bit of Epcot. We're going to talk a little bit of Universal. We got the different changes at Epcot with the neighborhood world celebration or whatever it's supposed to be called nowadays. I still call it Future World. And then we're going to hop over to Universal for a little bit, talk about what's been going on with Ride Rockit. We're also going to be talking about a couple updates with Tiana's Bayou Adventure coming up next on Citrus Corner as part of OG55. Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Citrus Corner. I am Citrus George, also known as the Disney Italiano, your host with the most. And yeah, we're gonna dive into some sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. But before I do, I gotta introduce to you the founder of the channel, my partner in crime, my brother, Mr. OG55 himself. How are you doing today, sir?
I am doing fantabulous. Thank you so much, George, for having me on this episode of Citrus Corner. I'm really looking forward to talking about these Epcot changes. A lot going on over there. I'm curious. I'm really looking forward also to talk about just everything. Tiana's Bayou Adventure, this rip riding, whatever it's called over at Universal that keeps breaking down. This thing is like
The thing. The thing.
The thing. The rip rocket thing over there at Universal.
Yes.
The thing. So very, very excited to break it all down with you, sir. And it wouldn't be Citrus Corner if. And
now your host,
the Italiano.
Thank you, good sir. All right, let's kick off with. Speaking of Epcot, they just released a aerial footage of what the World Celebration section of Epcot is going to look like. Now, there's been some kind of mixed reviews, as there always is with these new changes to to anything Disney nowadays. That there's a lot more trees, a lot more greenery into that central hub area that's just adjacent to where Spaceship Earth is, where the interventions building used to be. And then in the center part of that hub, you have the Epcot, the original kind of like the 1980s Epcot energy symbol, and I'm digging it. I actually like it, and I find it quite interesting when people say, oh, it's what is it, like there's nothing there or what have you. Well, a lot of people have been complaining about that, Walt Disney World, it's all gravel, it's all pavement, there's not enough greenery, there's not enough shrubbery, there's not enough trees. Well, Disney kind of answered that call, and it looks very natural and organic, and I think it'll bring a new life to Epcot. What do you think, OG?
Yeah, I love the fact that they incorporated the old Epcot logo. I think it's a nice little nod to the Epcot like fanboys, so to speak. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I'm just for real. Like it's a nice nod to the people that are super passionate about this park. And this is the thing too with Epcot, this kind of reimagining of this park. Is that Disney has made kind of this, like they've been kind of doing a balancing act, right, with how they're approaching it. So they're adding the IP, they're adding Frozen, they're adding Moana, and the IP for the normies, for the soccer moms and the families, right? That's what the normies go for, is like that stuff. But they're sprinkling in this stuff where like the diehards would appreciate, like this new logo. And I always forget what it's actually called, but that glass like spire that they installed like a year or two ago.
I think it's like the like the energy cylinder or something like that.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Like right there in the front, where it beautiful. They brought that back, so they're trying to sort of like they're trying to like give to the fans, the diehard fans, but at the same time they understand you also need the normies on board. So that's why you get Moana and things like that. I think it's been a good balancing act. I think it was our friend Theme Park Obsession who made a tweet earlier today. I think he had a really good point with the area looks really, really beautiful. It does. but it took too long to build. And I'm not typically on that train of like, oh, the whole like, oh, go faster Disney and be like Universal. Typically, I don't really care, but considering what this is, it's basically some really nice landscaping and some tile work. It probably could have been done a little faster than it was. That's really my only criticism. Other than that, I think it looks absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I think a lot of the negativity would have came far less that if they would have got it, not necessarily rush it, but have it done a little bit before the initial time frame. Because yeah, when you say, okay, we're almost done, and you look at it and it's like, okay, well, what really took so long? Not saying that's a bad thing, but it's just like, come on, Disney, you can kind of like speed up that caboose a little bit.
Yeah.
But another interesting factor that's put into all this is a lot of buzz has been talking about, if you look at the around like the bottom right hand side of that area, if you kind of tilt your head just a little bit, it kind of looks like everyone's favorite snowman from Frozen. I don't know if that is deliberately done, that Disney did just to kind of throw in there, just to, or if they weren't even really thinking about it and it just happened to be that way. But I don't know. To me, it kind of looks like Olaf. What do you think, OG?
It looks a lot like Olaf. And I'm not necessarily like opposed to adding like something like that from an aerial view. And I understand that Frozen is incorporated into Epcot at World Showcase. But I don't know. I think if they meant it to be Olaf, I think that's a little weird. A little weird for where it's being placed, like in this entry of the park and stuff. It's a strange placement, in my opinion. I don't know. I don't think it was intentional, but it is a striking resemblance to Olaf. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely,
definitely. And then on the left hand side, I do believe that is the journey into water inspired by Moana. Correct? I believe.
Are you referring to this
That
right
area,
here? Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so I kind of like how it all kind of interconnects, like again with that nature and organic style part of the park, because it all kind of has to flow. And if you're going to have Moana over there, then the other part of that section needs to have that organic style to it as well. And as I said, I think as opposite of what that used to be with the what they used to call the graveyard area when you first entered Epcot, where they had those Leave a Legacy little tiles that were on these like giant stone like wall prism things, and it's like there was just like a whole bunch of them all clustered together, and it just looked like one big giant like memorial site. It was kind of depressing, like when you walked into Epcot, because that was like the first thing you saw, and that was there for years.
I remember seeing pictures of that. It was long gone when I got there this past summer, this past July, but yeah, I remember seeing pictures of that, and it wasn't like that eye-catching. It wasn't that attractive. This is a good direction for the park. This area needed, like you said, George, this area needed some trees, some shade. This will add much needed trees and shade. Now, where is the Walt statue going to go exactly?
Okay, so from what I understand now, I believe Spaceship Earth is the upper left-hand side, I believe.
Like around here?
Yeah, so Walt is going to be looking like where he's looking, I guess, out into the park. So I don't know if it's going to be the opposite side.
So maybe like Olaf's nose?
Maybe.
Like right here, maybe like at the
yeah,
end.
Because they never
out?
they gave like a designated area, but they never really specified the exact location. Because
Okay.
I do believe they're going to have him on like sitting like perched up like on a step.
It seems like it's Olaf's nose. I would bet that would be where it's going to go. I can't really see anywhere else that that like set up for it, really, looking at it, seeing it from here, from this angle. But we'll see. But I think that's going to be great. I got to be honest, that Epcot statue, from what I've seen, isn't my favorite of the Walt statues. He's in a weird kind of position a little bit, but it'll just be great having him have him at the park. I think it was long overdue.
Absolutely. I got a little taste of seeing the statue when I went into the last D23 Expo, and it was okay. I mean, I'm glad that they're incorporating Walt one way or the other,
Yeah.
But I think they could have done a little bit better, especially with like the overall look of him, and as you had mentioned, OG, just kind of like the positioning of how they have him. But I do understand the story behind it, and it's just basically him sitting on a step at Dreamer's Point, looking out at his final dream that he never got to experience before his passing. So I could see the story behind it, but just a little bit of the execution is just a bit underwhelming for me. But I have to say, the international parks, what was it, Hong Kong?
Yeah.
I mean, they did it right.
The Hong Kong statue where him and Mickey are on the bench is like one of my favorite things. Like I've said many times before, like I would be okay with them replacing the partner statue at Disneyland and giving us the bench statue on the ground in that spot in the hub. I think it's a fantastic statue, and it's perfect because Walt came up with the idea for Disneyland on a bench. You know, watching his kids on the carousel or the merry-go-round. You know, it's just so perfect. It really is. You know, but this one, yeah, it's not my favorite. But I think it's a great idea. You got to incorporate Walt into Epcot somehow, and this is a great way to do it. So,
me personally, I'm going to even take it a step further, even beyond outside the parks. I think as a little tribute to him of how Disneyland kind of got started in his mind, I feel like that they should actually incorporate a statue up at Griffith Park and actually place it on a bench and have him sitting there eating a little container of like popcorn.
I would love that.
I think that would be kind of cool, just to kind of pay tribute to where the idea kind of came to him.
You could even, I mean, Disney likes to build to everything because it's cheaper, right? I mean, maybe there's another Walt and Mickey statue on the bench that they made for Hong Kong. I mean, you can even do a replica of that one if you wanted to and put it over there at the Griffith Park. I mean, that'd be kind of cool, but they should. Yeah. They absolutely should. Have a little area dedicated to him. I think it'd be kind of cool. Now, I've never been over there, so I don't really know what's in that spot right now, but hey, I'm never going to argue against having more Walt. I am always down for that. So as long as it's done respectfully, of course,
Exactly. Yeah.
I
mean, I don't know if you would want to. Well, you'd probably be into it, like you'd see Walt kind of doing a Blackpink move, I don't know, but
a Blackpink move, yeah, exactly, yeah, hit you with the do,
yes.
something like that, But yeah, no, I think that would be a cool idea though, to have a little tribute to him over there at the Griffith Park. I think that'd be kind of cool. I don't know. Yeah. I got to get over there too, and I also want to actually check out his. I think you've done it actually, but I've never checked out his gravesite.
I have not yet.
You haven't done it? Okay.
No, I haven't done it.
I think Mindy, I'm sorry. I think Mindy did.
Yeah, Mindy did. She said that was like one of the it's basically like a revelation, like going over there just to know that's where his resting place is. And she said it's just a remarkable feeling to us Disney nerds. And yeah, that's definitely something that's on my bucket list.
Next time you're in Cali, we're going to do that for sure.
Cool.
I think that's a good idea.
Awesome. So there we go. So kind of moving over to staying in Walt Disney World, moving over to Magic Kingdom. Photos have been released on some of the tile and brickwork for Tiana's Bayou Adventure over in Frontierland, and it's definitely. I mean, it's coming along. I mean, I could like see like what the different patterns and everything. I'm not 100% sure. I guess I'm not gonna pass full on judgment until I see it completed. I'm trying to get like an understanding like of what they want it to kind of look like. But again, as I said, I don't know until I see the whole thing completed. It looks okay. I just don't know if it kind of fits into the time era that they were trying to put this in. What do you think, OG?
Yeah, it's weird. I think it looks nice, actually, like the stonework and the bricks and all that. Like in and of itself, I think it looks really, really nice. I don't know if that's necessarily of the era. I think it's supposed to be 1930s. I don't really know if that's of that era. And it just feels a little bit like, I don't know if I'm feeling the New Orleans vibe with this yet. And again, it's still a construction site, so I'm not going all in on the criticism. I don't really know how this is going to turn out, but in my mind, when I was thinking of this attraction, the way they're going to kind of theme it aesthetically, I was thinking more like New Orleans Square style, New Orleans vibe like that. and they're going in a way different direction. Not necessarily a bad direction, just a lot different than I expected. But I mean, it looks nice though. It does. It looks very, very nice. I don't know. I guess it's just completely different than what I had in my mind going into this.
Yeah, same here. It's like it's not like I don't like it, but it's not like it's something that I absolutely love. I think it's, again, for me to have like my full on critique, I'll have to kind of wait and see what this is going to look like in its final completion.
Yeah, yeah. And this ride, I'm telling you, man, it's gonna be, dude. I'm actually dreading the opening.
Honestly,
I'm sorry. I'm not dreading it because of the ride itself. I'm dreading it because of the discourse online. It's going to be fucking hell, dude.
Yeah.
You're going to have all the weirdo like culture warriors coming for this thing, and I'm just over it, you know?
Yeah. I actually have a feeling it's going to be a more of a mess online than it is actually going to be in the parks.
Oh yeah.
I think in the parks, like, it's just going to be a banger where there's going to be like a 240-minute wait for this thing, just for like the normies and what have you. But yeah, all the people that are on Diz Twitter that have been just giving this thing hell from the beginning. And as I said, it's not that, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was very bummed with hearing and seeing that Splash Mountain was going to go. It was one of my favorite beloved attractions at a Disney park, at Walt Disney World in Magic Kingdom, but I mean, despite of how I still feel about Splash Mountain, I still think it's an iconic, excellent ride. It's not going to change the fact that it's changing. So to stay bitter and upset about it, it's like, well, what's that going to do for your morale? It's like, time goes on, life goes on. It's like, it's not going to stop me from going to the park and experiencing this ride. And who really knows? And, maybe the ride will, Disney will come out at the end where we get a very decent ride based off of the continuing story of Princess and the Frog.
Yeah, and I want to make it very clear. There's nothing wrong with riding this attraction and coming off of it and going, okay, I have some criticisms. That's totally fine and totally healthy and totally acceptable. What I'm talking about earlier was more like the people who have already basically written the review. They already know they're going to hate it because it's a culture war thing, those people you're never going to convince, and those are going to be the loudest people on the internet when this thing opens. But I'm going to have an open mind. I've said it many times. I think this theme of New Orleans, the Bayou, I think it could be very, very cool done on this scale. You take like Pirates of the Caribbean, that first scene with the fireflies and everything, and put that on a massive scale, like in Splash Mountain in that show building. I think you can do a lot of beautiful things. We have a lot of new technology now that you can do with like the backgrounds and like the projections incorporated with the physical sets. We've seen it with Alice in Wonderland and Snow White here at Disneyland. There is a lot of potential here, Again, Imagineering though, and I think we talked with Jack from DSNY about this, just like I think it was like last week or something when we did that video with him, where he was concerned that the story is going to be a little bit of the issue, where it's a little too much explaining, and I would agree with him on that. I think that is a sticking point for this attraction. If Imagineering can go in there, Bruce Vaughn can go in there and sort of whittle that down and simplify it to just an experience through the Bayou and about food and family, where it's not overly complicated, I think we can have a home run here. But I agree with DSNY that I do believe that the story overcomplicating it is going to be an issue for this thing. I hope it's not a bunch of like you're in line in the queue and there are like a bunch of explaining of the co-op and all that. Like, Disney, please don't do that. You just don't get all in the weeds with that, make it as simple and clean of a concept as possible,
And I do agree with that notion. I think, Disney has to kind of like back pace a little bit on just kind of cutting down the understanding of the storyline, where it's not, as you had mentioned, OG, not overly complicated. I don't know if they'll necessarily do that. If that is the case right now, I think they have so much on their plate to just get this area and the ride up and running. I think in time, once Disney kind of sees the operation of the ride and the amount of people going in, I think that's when we'll start to subtly see it kind of just be cut down to say, okay, rather than call it this and it's about this and that, it's like, let's just cut it down to just maybe like 2 out of those 5 things.
Yeah, you don't need to get into this overly complicated explanation. You can just have like you can focus on Tiana, her love for food. You can focus on this kind of this Bayou kind of vibe. and you don't, that's really all you need. You don't need to get into this overly complex like story line and just, yeah, that's the only thing that's really, really, really worrying me. And then when you get on the attraction, is it going to be a bunch of audio of them like explaining the story along the way? That's another thing. You don't need to do that, Disney. Just play the music, have great scenery, great animatronics, and just enjoy the vibe. I hope it's not a bunch of explaining along the way. You know, Nemo, that's the one thing I don't like about the Submarine Nemo ride at Disneyland. There's way too much like unnecessary dialogue and stuff in that ride. It's just like, it ruins it. The writing on that attraction is absolutely terrible. So I hope that doesn't happen here. So we'll see. Just give us the energy, the vibe, the food, the family, the Bayou, and you're good. You don't need to explain anything more. That's it. You know, easy peasy.
Exactly.
Easy
Peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay, so now moving back over to Epcot, this was released by WDW News today. That there was that during a show of the American Adventure in World Showcase at Epcot, Mark Twain's head, the audio animatronic next to Ben Franklin, at some point during the show, the animatronic malfunctioned and his head did a complete 360 degree. Got a little Halloween Horror Nights with the Exorcist there. And again, it's one of those things where no matter how much that Disney can maintain an audio animatronic, at the end of the day, it's a piece of machinery. Things happen all the time with computers, with glitches, with anything, and sometimes it's out of anybody's control to really know what these audio animatronics are capable of doing at any given time. There could be one little issue within the body function of the robot, so to speak, and if it glitches or something kind of disconnects, then certain mishaps happen, and there's really nothing you can do about it. I think it's kind of funny, but I mean, it's definitely not something that I would ding Disney for, just to say, oh, there's another mishap in the parks. It's
mishaps and technical difficulties have been happening at these parks since they opened. I mean, anytime you have technology or any kind of animatronic or anything like that, you're going to have issues. As long as they get it fixed in a timely manner. Obviously, if this sits like this for weeks on end, okay, Disney, come on, let's do something here, let's fix it. But there's no evidence that that's gonna be the case here. Yeah, I mean, also we live in a social media age and we're gonna get into Universal right now too. They've been having some issues over there too, but we live in a social media age where everyone has a camera in their pocket. Yeah. So it's like in the 90s or the 80s or 90s, maybe it felt like when you were a kid, this stuff didn't happen as much because you didn't have social media to show you this stuff. Like in the 80s, if you were at home, you had no idea what was happening at the parks unless it made the nightly news. Well, something like this isn't going to make the nightly news, so you didn't hear about any of it unless you were there and you saw it firsthand. So now in the social media age, you see all of it. Every time the thing breaks down, every time there's a chip paint or there's a broken light bulb or this, that, and the other, there's people online freaking posting pictures and video of it. So you see it and it gives us this illusion that's happening more now than ever. I don't think it really is. I think we just have more access to this stuff more now than ever. And that's why you're seeing it even at Universal. There's issues over there too with, we reported on it, the Cat in the Hat ride and all that stuff, and this Ride Rockit thing that's broken down like 3 times this week and had people stranded. Now, look, not to say that maintenance can't be an issue. Like, obviously, it really, for me, it really depends on how long this stuff is drawn out. A day or two of something broken and they work it out, they fix it's fine. It goes on for weeks and months on end. Okay, like the Yeti or something, that's an issue that you got to call Disney out on. So
exactly.
That's my standard, basically.
And I want to ask you this kind of on the subject, and I know this is Citrus Corner where we cover Walt Disney World, but kind of touching back to a little bit of Disney history of the opening day at Disneyland, where there was nothing but issues, where the women's high heels sunk into the asphalt,
Right.
They ran out of soft drinks, not enough water fountains, bathrooms, were all backed up, no pun intended. Rides were breaking down. It was basically a disaster, but yet it was a hit. when you talk to anybody that's in the Disney community, they say, "Well, yeah, that's just the nostalgic. That's part of Disney history. Disneyland opened up with a bunch of issues, but it's part of history." So then what's the difference now when you see something happening now? How come there was no excuse back then for the opening day? And yet now it's like, oh, it's because as we had touched upon this at a previous video, it's the culture war that it's like, okay, because Disney is woke and Disney is this and Disney lowered its standards or what have it. What is the complete difference when they had issues at opening day at Disneyland while Walt was still alive
Yeah.
up to now?
Well, he got raked through the coals for that opening day. I mean, the newspapers and everything really reamed him for that opening day. It was deemed as a total disaster, for him.
Yeah.
And over the years now, almost 70 years later, we look at it like, oh, you look at it through rose-colored glasses. I mean, even the Michael Eisner era, which isn't really that long ago, 25, 30 years ago, people look at that with like these rose-colored glasses, like, oh man, things were so perfect back then. No, they weren't. Michael Eisner basically got fired. He basically got kicked out. I mean, things were really getting bad for him. Roy Disney, the nephew, was fighting tooth and nail to get him removed. It was bad. But people talk about it on social media like the Eisner era, like the 20 years he was there was like the most amazing thing. The first 10 years were freaking amazing. The last 10 years were pretty bad. The animated films were not doing good. There was a lot of misses with the theme park stuff, like DCA 1.0, things like that. So yeah, people look at this stuff after the fact, years and years later, with these rose-colored glasses. But the fact is, you're right, George. Opening day for Disneyland was a complete and total disaster. The opening day for almost all these Universal parks in Florida were a disaster. The Studio Park was a complete and total mess. Islands of Adventure was really not a success. It was kind of flopping until Wizarding World came onto the scene in like 2008 or 9, I think it was, or something like that. They've had not the greatest success over there. Even Volcano Bay was kind of an iffy opening. It happens, it happens. So yeah, it's not all roses.
Wizarding World opened, I believe it was 2010.
Oh, 10. Okay.
But I mean, like, think how long of a stretch that was until
that's like
Wizarding
11
World
years,
came.
10 or 11 years.
That would 11. Yeah,
11 years. So, but yeah, this stuff, things break down. As long as it's fixed in a timely manner, it's fine. That's why I don't understand these people. They get all like worked up over it, like on Twitter and stuff. Like they're posting all this stuff. Oh my God, this thing is broken. It's like, oh, God. Okay, yeah, I get it. And then tomorrow it's fine. It's like not the biggest deal. Go touch some grass. Go do something. God. And that goes for Universal too. Look, if Universal has something broken and the next day it's fixed or in 2 days it's fixed, who cares?
Well, and speaking of Universal, if they actually want to go touch some grass, they'll have a lot of it once they get off of that Star Racer.
Yeah, I know, right? The whole thing is grass. There's no theming. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's the thing too with that whole park, man. It's like there's a lot of good coming to that park. I'll be honest. Like the Monsters area looks really, really dope. We talked about that. Mm-hmm. I think there's elements of that park, even like the How to Train Your Dragon thing. That's coming along now, and that's looking pretty cool. But there's other elements like the Starfall Racers looks really cheap. Got to be real with everybody. It doesn't look like there's any theming with that. And that hotel, that Luna Hotel or whatever it's called, it's basically a big cement box with like Candy Crush tiles on it. I'm sorry, people are fawning over that thing. That thing looks cheap as hell, dude. It's an eyesore. It's not
eyesore.
Even
just not even the aesthetics of the building itself, but like just the overall, like the inside of the hotel and around like the pool area and what have you. It looks nice, but it just looks like your average everyday Hilton Head hotel. I don't really see anything extravagant about it.
No, there's not. And again, like I said before, I mean, this is the park that there's a lot of expectations with this park and this resort complex, coming to Universal. There's a lot of expectations, a lot of high expectations. And, they got to hit some home runs with this thing. And I'm sorry, that hotel, it doesn't really look. Actually, I actually saw today, I think it was Bayou Reconstruct. He was posting some aerial shots of the Hard Rock Hotel over at Universal. And I was like, that was my first time actually seeing that hotel. I've never seen it. And from the air, I'm like, that looks really nice. That looks nicer than the stuff they're building over there at Epic Universe right now.
Universal's Hard Rock Hotel is very nice.
Oh, it looks beautiful. Nice. Absolutely beautiful. So, yeah, Universal does great stuff. But that Luna Hotel or whatever that is, it doesn't. I'm sorry, I'm just not impressed. I'm just being honest,
Yeah. And especially when you're titling it as this is going to be the thing that's going to bring Disney to its knees.
Yeah, I
You know?
know. There's fans that think this thing is gonna like you got the mouse house shaking. It's like,
Yeah.
come on, dude. It's I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that pans out. I'm very curious when that park opens and we actually start to dive into the reality as opposed to the fan rhetoric, how all that stuff it kind of works itself out. And I'll be very curious to like kind of dive into that, the crowd patterns, which parks are dead when that thing opened, the cannibalization, all that stuff. I'm very, very curious about that. Is Disney taking a hit or is Disney getting busy? Out here in California, Super Mario World opened and all the fans were saying leading up to that opening that Disneyland was going to take a huge hit and it was going to be dead at Disneyland because Mario came into town. That never happened. Disneyland Resort has been the star of the fucking show in the quarterly earnings report compared to Walt Disney World. And we got Mario in our backyard and we're doing just fine. So we'll see what happens with Epic Universe when Mario moves into their backyard. It might be the same effect. It might just bring people into Disney World. Because are you really going to go to Orlando and not go to Disney World? No, you probably,
Yeah.
And the cannibalization thing is a possibility. It's possible people cut off like a Hollywood Studios day or an Animal Kingdom day and go to Epic or something. That's possible. But we'll see. That the jury's still on that. We don't know yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of speaking of Universal and them having some issues, this was the first of, I believe, 2 or possibly 3, but I think it was 2. That the ride over at Universal Studios Orlando, Ride Rockit, had some technical issues during the end of day process where the train got stuck at the very top of the lift, where you're almost in a like a 90-degree angle, and the passengers were stuck on there for, I believe, either about an hour or a little over an hour, before they were able to either get the ride functioning again, or they had to get the riders off the train. And this was, as I said, the first, and I believe like a day or two later, it had broken down again where the vehicle stopped at the top. And this has gotten a lot of people talking that once they seen this, that Ride Rockit is not the ride for them.
No, this ride is not for me because I'm not a thrill junkie, to be honest with you. Even if it wasn't breaking down, I wouldn't go on this. It's just not for me. Look, this is terrifying. Our buddy Ranking the Mouse, Sean, he was joking around on Twitter like, dude, this is like his worst nightmare. Imagine being on that thing at that fucking vertical, like, straight up and down, and you're sitting there for an hour. You don't know if that thing is, if that braking system or whatever's holding you up is going to fail. That's scary, man. That is really, really scary.
And at
night, dude, that's really scary. But look, here's the thing. I think Universal should get rid of this ride, and not because it's broken down a couple times. I'll be consistent.
It's janky.
Yeah, Disney stuff breaks down too. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna be consistent here. Like, this happens, whatever, But it's an eyesore. It's an eyesore. Universal has shown us they can do really, really great stuff. This thing needs to go. This is ugly. This is something that you see like at a more of a regional park, not Universal, not a world-class theme park.
This is honestly, this is more so like a Six Flags type of roller coaster.
Yeah, I've never been to Six Flags, but this is kind of stuff they have over there, huh?
This is the kind of stuff. Yeah, this is like Six Flags Cedar Point type of, even Hershey Park type of thing. It's like your basic amusement park roller coaster. There's no theme to it at all. It's basically, honestly, what the new roller coaster over Epic Universe is probably going to be like.
Yeah, probably. Well, here's the thing. Like I said, I've been to Knott's now recently a couple times, and I honestly, this is uglier than a lot of stuff at Knott's. I mean, Knott's has big coasters. They do. But none of them are as ugly as this thing. This thing is really hideous. When you zoom out and it's in the daytime, this thing is an eyesore, man. It's just horrible looking. They got to just get rid of it. Just get rid of it. I don't know. Is it a fun ride though? Did you like it at least? Was it fun or?
Actually, I've never been on it before.
Oh, okay, I thought you've been.
Well, no, because when I was down with Josh, there were a couple attempts that we tried to get on it, but either the line was too long or it was broken down. Or because
it was broken down back then too?
Yeah.
Okay, well, see, that's a little different story then, because that's like, then you're kind of getting into like, this is a pattern. like
Yeah.
because that was a couple years
And
ago.
that
And
was the problem that they were having with the Top Thrill Dragster roller coaster at Cedar Point. There was this constant, a lot of breakdowns, a lot of malfunctions until eventually they just decided, and actually some injuries, mind you, as well. So they just decided that the running time for that coaster was not up to par, so they ended up scrapping it.
wow, yeah, that's interesting. Between the downtimes and just how hideous it looks, just get rid of it, Universal. Come on. Now, where is that? Isn't that like in the amphitheater area where you can sit and kind of watch shows and stuff?
It's in as if you were to walk into the it's more closer to the beginning of the park. So as you walk in, it'll be like on your left hand side. As you um start to make your way down to where it kind of looks like the pier and the movie set type things where where they have like the theater for you got to walk a little bit further down, but where the Bourne stunt show is and everything. So I mean, it's still a little bit more closer to the front entrance of the park, but I mean, either no matter which way you turn it, as you said, OG, that thing is just a complete eyesore. It's a waste of space. It has no theming to it whatsoever. It doesn't even tie into the studio. It has again, it's like irrelevant to everything.
Yeah, it's pointless. I would just get rid of it. And I'm not saying that because I'm not like a coaster guy. Like I'm not a coaster guy, but I think there's a place for Cosmic Rewind, you know? I'm not a coaster guy, but there's a place for things like Velocicoaster. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This, come on. There's just it's a waste of space. It's hideous. It's breaking down all the time. Cut it loose, Universal. Cut it loose, you know?
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see if they do. I think it's probably though. I asked Theme Park Wizard, he's our Universal guy. And I asked him like straight up, like, is there any plans for this thing to go? He said he hasn't heard anything. I don't know. And Wizard's the Universal guy. He hasn't heard anything. I think they should though.
I think probably once they get Epic Universe up and running and they kind of work out their kinks there, then they can start working on the studios and IOA. I think they're
Yeah.
going to want as much stuff in there as possible, despite how shitty it may be, just to kind of keep the other parks flowing once Epic opens.
Now, for your experience, 'cause I've never been to Universal over there. Is a studio park over there like how is the theming? Like besides that Rip Rocket roller coaster or whatever, like the rest of the park, is it decent? Is it like Hollywood, the Hollywood park, or worse? Or
It's I would say it's kind of scattered, sort of kind of like how Hollywood Studios is. The only thing is Universal Hollywood is scattered vertical because of the
right,
escalators. Universal Studios Orlando is kind of horizontal, where it's like a lot of the times where it's nice, but it doesn't kind of like mesh well until you kind of get into like the Harry Potter section where you kind of walk through like that hidden alleyway where it takes you to Gringotts and what have you. You know, that's completely immersive, but you feel completely cut off in that area to where the rest of the park is, because again, it is a working studio. You know, it has. I mean, not as big as Universal Hollywood, but I mean, they do. I think they still do like a lot of commercials and stuff down there. Um, but again, aesthetically, it's not as appeasing to the eye as honestly, even though Hollywood Studios, Disney's Hollywood Studios isn't necessarily a working studio anymore, but I mean, it's still kind of nice to walk around and get a feel of the different lands. Where Universal Studios, as much as it's an iconic park, it's kind of like all over the place, really.
yeah, I was actually surprised with Disney's Hollywood Studios because I was expecting a lot more sound stages and like minimal theming. And when I got there, like the park was really kind of old school Hollywood, like kind of through and through. I mean, there were little pieces here and there, like the animation courtyard was underwhelming, you know. But outside of that, I think most of the park looks really good. I was surprised at how good it looked. So maybe my expectations were so low, but we actually ended up staying there a little longer because I was like, wow, this is actually pretty nice. But
Which is actually a real shame because I think it had you would have seen Animation Courtyard of what its originality was, where you get to walk through the animation show building and you actually get to see real life animators animating characters and working on storyboards and everything. That was really cool. That was like quintessential Disney. And it's like when that department got shut down, that area just became completely irrelevant to the park, unfortunately. And I believe several, yeah, well, there were several Disney animated movies that were in production there, and Mulan was one of them. There was a heavy, uh, big percentage of that movie that was done in that animation building at Hollywood
Wow.
Studios.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. I actually like that Hollywood Park, man. I was surprised at how much I liked it. It ranked higher for me than Magic Kingdom.
I could actually start to see that now, even for myself, after going to Disneyland how many times. Magic Kingdom was always like my top dog park, just within all Disney parks. But after experiencing Disneyland how many times and how, original and classic that park is, Magic Kingdom, yeah, is a bit underwhelming. There's certain sections of
You're right.
Magic Kingdom that I
It-
like.
yeah, when they're obviously Carousel Progress, love it. People Mover,
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, but it doesn't have that oomph.
Charm. Doesn't
The
have that
soul,
charm.
yeah, it just lacks it, and because it's the comparison to Disneyland is so hard to separate because I'm so used to Disneyland, it just fell flat. Where the other parks were new, so there wasn't that comparison to something else. Like Animal Kingdom was a totally new experience for me, and I fell in love with it. Epcot, totally different experience, fell in love with it. Even Hollywood, to be honest with you, was better than I expected. I mean, that really kind of blew me away even a little bit. But yeah, Magic Kingdom though, it just wasn't there. There was something about it. But next time we go back, we'll spend more time at Magic Kingdom, and we'll maybe my opinion will change. I love the mine train too. I thought that was a great little coaster.
Yeah, that was. Oh man, watching you on that thing, like you thought we were just gonna kind of ease our way out of the thing. That thing like just shoots you right out of there. And you're like,
Boom.
whoa.
Are we going now? We're going now? Oh my God. Yeah, because I thought we were gonna kind of meander through some show scenes or something first.
Yeah, nope.
Nope.
That thing shoots you out like a bullet.
Boom, but it's a perfect speed though. It's just thrilling enough where it's fun, but it's not like, like Cosmic Rewind where you're like, it's like blowing your brains out crazy. It's
Yeah.
just enough. And so is a Slinky Dog. That was just enough speed where it's thrilling, but it's not like overwhelmingly thrilling.
And I wanted to actually ask you this now that you brought that up because you had mentioned that when we were there. Is Slinky Dog a little bit more closer to your border than Seven Dwarfs, or vice versa?
Yeah, no, I think Slinky Dog is that was a little more intense than Seven Dwarfs. I would say, yeah, Slinky Dog's closer, but it doesn't cross the line. Like I had no problem with that ride. I could do that one again, no problem. It was fun.
Okay.
It was a lot of fun, actually. It's more intense than you would think it would be, but it's fun. Yeah,
Nice.
Cosmic was just uncomfortably thrilling. It was just like I didn't feel. It felt very uneasy and not knowing which way they're going to turn you and stuff.
I think for you, I think if they would have done the turns a little bit more, I'm trying to think how to put it. Like, I'll say it this way: not as many turns. Like, I think if they would have like turned you like in a certain aspect for one part of the ride, and then the rest would just kind of course through, and then maybe do another turn. I think it was that consistent spinning for you that's what
Yeah.
kind of threw you off.
It was just threw my whole equilibrium off, and it was just like this weird feeling. Yeah, I wasn't digging it, but I can see why people do dig it though. If you're a thrill junkie, that's the ride, man. That ride is crazy. Like that's the ride for you. If you like thrill rides and coasters, that's a good one. But I'm just not that guy, which is fine.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Some people aren't like a dark ride person. Some people like that. They don't give a shit about Peter Pan and those kind of rides. I love those rides.
Yeah.
So everyone's got like a thing.
There's people that don't even go on any rides. They'll just go into the park just for the ambiance and people watch. My mom's one of them. She's like a people watcher. She loves the ambiance, just being in the park, the sights, the sounds, the smells, and just taking it all in, just to be there.
No, absolutely. I'm with your mom on that too. I like that's a big part of my day when I go to Disneyland. Obviously, where it was a little more like with Florida because I've never been. But when I'm at Disneyland, a lot of times I'll go and soak in the atmosphere. Maybe go on one ride, maybe go on two. But for the most part, I'm just checking out that.
Especially that one day that we had. We just chilled at Grand Cali, the Grand Californian, and we just had our sandwiches and beer and just
It's great.
right before Oogie Boogie.
Right before the Boogie Bash. Gangsters don't dance, they boogie. You know, I don't know if you guys remember that song at home, but if you're a rap fan, you probably do. Gangsters don't dance, they boogie. But yeah, Oogie Boogie Bash was fantastic, and that day was phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, just chilling, having a beer, hanging out, enjoying the atmosphere. God, I love those kind of Disney days. Those are great.
Yeah, they are. Well, brother, I want to thank you for joining me today on this episode of Citrus Corner. I want to thank every one of you who tuned in to watch. Definitely comment down below on everything that we discussed. Epcot's transition with the new areas that are opening up. Tiana's Bayou Adventure continuing with its progress before its late 2024 opening. The American Adventure audio animatronics, Universal Studios Ride Rockit, everything that we talked about. Comment down below with your thoughts, opinions, questions, all that good stuff. We love to hear from you. And OG, again, thank you for coming on and joining me, brother. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I always look forward to our shows, our videos. I appreciate you, George, and all that you do for the channel, and just the amazing work that you do, brother, and just your friendship. You know, I love you to death, man. And thank you so much for having me on. It was really fun, and we'll do this again very soon.
And now your host,
The Italiano.
Thank you, good sir. And of course, as I always say to you all, stay healthy, stay safe, stay Disney. Bye, everybody.